Welcome to Your Personal Power Pod, a podcast about aligning yourself with the life you want. And here are your hosts, Sandy Abel and Shannon Young.
Shannon, how are you today?
Hi, Sandy. I'm well. And yourself?
Oh, I'm just fine and dandy. We were just talking before we clicked the record button about what a gorgeous day it is and how it's spring and how the sun is out and the flowers are coming out. And I just love this time of year.
Isn't it funny how it just seems to happen overnight? We went from blah, brown, unbelievably cold weather to green hills like in 12 hours. It was crazy.
It's amazing what some rain will do for you,
Right?
I guess. Rain and
Incredible.
sun, it works miracles.
You say every episode how excited you are for the episode, but today I am really jazzed for this. Partly because of the topic, but partly because I really want to hear why you came up with this topic.
Oh, yeah. Fuzzy brain. Yeah. I'm usually fairly sharp and my brain works. And when I want to write a podcast or talk to somebody, my brain gives me the words. And I was trying to do that and it just wouldn't work. And it was like my brain was full of cotton and it was so frustrating. For a little bit, I got scared. And then I realized I had a cold. I didn't have COVID. I didn't have the flu. I didn't have any huge, big deal illness, thank goodness. But I was stuffy and felt a little tired and had a cold. I realized, oh my gosh, it's affecting my brain. And I never really thought that even a little thing like that would make it so I can't think.
Mm-hmm.
When I got better, I thought, let's talk about this because it may be something that people don't think about a lot, even though they experience it, I'm sure.
I think a lot of us go through that without realizing that there's actually something physiological going on, or maybe there's something going on in our lives. Like one of my friends is having some struggles with her oldest daughter.
Uh-huh.
It's really taking a toll on the family, and they had kind of a crisis a week or so ago. She canceled the plans that we had for that day, but she did go into work later that afternoon, and she told me that she wished she hadn't done that because she couldn't engage her brain.
Yeah.
Because it was like her mind was somewhere else. The priorities in her life were making themselves very clear, and anything that wasn't that just couldn't take up any space in her brain.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating how that works? So I hope she went home and was able to work on what was important with her family, because that is the priority always.
Absolutely. And it's not a single day issue. It is a thing that will resolve itself over time.
Sure.
Looking back on it now, I think if she winds up in a situation like that again, she will not try to work.
Yes. And it's good to be able to identify, oh, this is what's going on because this other thing is happening. I'm going to work with what is, not what I want it to be quite yet.
Oh, how wise.
So let's talk about fuzzy brains.
What is it?
There is a technical term. I call it a fuzzy brain. It's called brain fog or mental haze.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a physical reaction to something that's happening in your body or in your life. Like mine was body, hers was life.
Interesting.
It includes the inability to think clearly or remember things that you would normally easily recall, like words. Sometimes it makes you feel detached or discouraged or exhausted and depressed. And it can be really scary if you're not sure what's going on.
Especially if you're used to being one of those people whose brain works really quickly.
Exactly.
And then when it doesn't, you think, oh, I don't feel like me.
Where did I go? Am I going to come back? That's the scary thing. Am I going to come back?
I miss me.
That was kind of cool,
So the symptoms of brain fog, tell me about them.
There are a lot. You get a feeling or a sensation of cloudiness in the brain, as we talked about, and you feel spacey or confused. You have a slow reaction time. If you're driving or something, you really need to pay attention because your mental processing speed is slowed down. Because of that, your manual dexterity is slowing down. Try not to do something that could end up in a lot of danger if you can. Don't run a chainsaw or anything when you're feeling like you have a fuzzy brain. You just have trouble concentrating or following conversations or directions.
Mm-hmm.
You get forgetful and easily distracted.
Decisions can be hard.
Exactly.
You just can't process information well enough to be able to decide which is right for you.
Yeah.
That can translate into having trouble clarifying your thoughts and, like you said, choosing the right words to express yourself. And it can also manifest itself physically. You
Yeah.
mentioned being exhausted, so low energy, insomnia, headaches.
All that stuff. And then you get grumpy and irritable. And confused and anxious. Sometimes you just take that to the next step and feel hopeless or depressed. Then that'll influence your relationships. If people don't understand what's going on, if all of a sudden you're just grumpy or not responding when they talk to you, can really cause a problem with relationships. It's important to be self-aware and go, oh, this is what's going on. I've got a cold, or I'm totally distracted by this thing that's happening in my life. I'm not going to function real well today, and that's okay. You have to give yourself permission to have brain fog because you can't get rid of it immediately. Just work with it instead.
Yeah, give yourself some space to vibrate at a lower level.
Ooh, I like that. Yes. Lower vibration for a while.
For a while. Don't be so demanding on yourself.
Have you experienced this before?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, gosh, yes. I think specifically of a couple of different circumstances. Definitely being sick and possibly not the illness being the cause, but anybody who's ever taken cold medicine knows that it kind of dampens your brain.
Right. Yeah.
It kind of squishes it down into a hum instead of like the normal vibrating electrical activity that it is. And then there was a time in my life, well, actually kind of still going through it, when I hit perimenopause.
Oh, bummer.
And it was the combination of things, because the symptoms that I was experiencing were not only ridiculous hot flashes, but lack of sleep. And so all of that together created irritability. And I was just grumpy because I was miserable.
So fun for your family.
Yeah, it was great.
To live with.
Once I talked to my doctor and was reeling off all these things, just thinking I'm a mess. And she was like, oh no, those are all symptoms. And I just thought, oh, thanks, universe. How fair is this? But once we started dealing with the possible cures, for lack of a better word, speaking of brain fog, I have noticed that now that I'm getting more sleep, the brain fog has lifted. It's still there. It's an upper level brain fog, but I can see underneath it. Visibility has improved.
Oh, that's great. You do still need to function on some level at some point for something like what you're going through. It takes time. It's not something like a cold that you're going to get rid of in a week. I'm glad that it's doing better.
You know, I think kind of jokily, but aptly, of the Tom Hanks movie Joe versus the Volcano, where he's working in that horrible basement with that terrible lighting in a job he hates and gets diagnosed as having a brain cloud.
Yeah.
Really, he was just not living a life that suited him. And because of it, everything was foggy.
Oh, yeah. And that's an excellent point. That if you're living a life that doesn't work for you, things might be more difficult and more foggy than usual. If he got out of the basement and started doing something fun, his brain probably cleared up.
Exactly.
So it's important for all of our listeners and all of us to pay attention. If we're doing something that makes us feel repressed, you might notice that your brain is a little sluggish, and figure out how to light the fire under your brain again, what you can do differently.
So let's talk about the causes of brain fog. We talked about some of the illnesses that can affect your brain, colds, flu, probably other diseases and illnesses as well.
And stress, like Tom Hanks in the movie. I'm sure he was very stressed in the basement. When you have chronic stress, then you have physical problems. Your blood pressure increases and your immune system weakens, and you can experience depression, and it can really spiral out of control. And also, if you're just working your brain too hard, if you're doing a huge project and you're just focused for days on end, at some point, your brain may just say, okay, time for a break. I'm not going to work right now. And all of a sudden, you won't be able to do what you've been doing for the past 2 days. Be aware of that and don't freak out over it. But overworking your brain can cause it to slow down.
I have an amazing job.
Yes.
Where I work for most of the year, 3.5 days a week, and that's considered full time. And when I tell people that, they go, that sounds like you don't work very hard, you know?
You work really hard, I know.
But the job that we do is so detail oriented and so fast moving that having to work more than 4 days a week makes you more apt to make huge mistakes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that fourth day, you're done.
Yeah.
And I remember last year, my coworker got sick and then her kids got sick. So she was just home with them for a couple of weeks. And it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And so I just worked while she was getting better. And I talked to the owner one night. He was just checking in on me and he said, how's it going? And I said, well, I'm on day 9.
Oh, dear.
And his response was, oh, dear God. And I was like, right? I'm hanging in there, but I'm having to work fewer hours a day because you just have to let your brain rest.
Right. Fortunately, he understands.
Oh, he gets it. He started the company. He knows.
Right. So, yeah, you can easily overwork your brain. And
Yeah.
the good thing is most of the time, if you realize it and back off, your brain will come back. The fog will clear. The fuzziness will go away. But you have to do that or it just gets worse.
You can't push it. And you can kind of feel it. There's a little bit of a wall. And I know there's that little voice that's like, no, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. But your brain is just taking a stand and going, no, we're stopping here.
Yes.
This is it.
Yes.
This is rest time.
Yes, there you go. And you can't fight that.
It makes it worse. And that's kind of what happens when you don't sleep,
Right.
too, is that your brain can't function.
Like you said, you were not sleeping well, so everything was fuzzier. And also life changes. Like your friend, she's dealing with something big. You are so focused on what's happening, and your subconscious is focusing on it too, as well as your conscious mind. It just fuzzes your brain. And then, like you said, the hormonal changes that can really muck with things. The change in estrogen, your diet, if you have a vitamin B12 deficiency, that can cause brain fog. Or if you have food allergies, that also can do it. And then there are medications.
Oh, sure.
There are several medications and medical conditions that can cause that.
Yeah, and the list of medical conditions is long. I think anything that causes your body to have to work around something out of the norm within it is going to affect your brain.
Exactly. Things like anemia, depression, diabetes, migraine headaches, hypothyroidism, autoimmune diseases, infections, dehydration, colds, flu, just about anything that impacts your body is going to also impact your brain.
Isn't that interesting that dehydration is on there? I mean, it makes perfect sense. Your body needs water to continue to work, but it's such a simple fix.
I know, but people don't even realize that they're dehydrated until they start experiencing symptoms.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we can do once we realize, oh, this is brain fog. Now there are some things we can do to alleviate it.
First, look around your life, see what's happening. Like once I figured out, oh, I've got a cold. All right, I'm just going to go sit and read a book because I'm not going to push through this until my cold goes away. Pay attention to your sleep and make sure you're sleeping at least 8 or 9 hours a night, if at all possible. Like you said, when you were not sleeping, that really affected it. You have to be gentle with yourself.
As always.
As always, yes. Don't beat yourself up because you're not as sharp as you were when you were fully healthy or when your life was flowing smoothly instead of hitting some bumps. So always be gentle with yourself.
You probably want to take a look at your diet, remove anything that's a trigger for you or that causes inflammation or that is essentially self-medicating.
Yeah.
Whether that's with ice cream or with alcohol.
Yeah, or drugs or anything that is self-medicating. Probably is not the time to be doing that. It will just exacerbate your fuzzy brain.
Yeah. And then get out and move your body. If all you can do is get up off the couch and stretch and then sit back down, do it. Just engage your bod.
Exactly. Always. And finding ways to relax. If you have the energy, go outside, appreciate what's out there, lie down, take a nap, whatever works.
But get off your screens.
Yes.
I know that a
definitely.
lot of us think relaxation equates to scrolling, and they are not synonymous. I know there's definitely a time and a place to play Candy Crush on your phone, but if that's all you're doing to relax and you're not relaxing, it's probably because you're on your phone. Put it down.
Exactly.
Unplug. Stare at the wall if you have to, and you'll get more benefit out of doing that for 5 minutes than you will from scrolling for an hour.
Absolutely. Computers and phones and the screens and all that are amazing in a lot of ways, but they can also be overwhelming and draining.
All that stimulation.
Creating a balance is really important with that. avoiding the news and the negativity and people who want to have negative conversations. Avoid that if you can. Focus on the positive.
And sleep. If you can, sleep. Make conditions in your room such that it supports your sleep. Get rid of the TV.
Right.
Clean your clutter. Make it a nice sanctuary for you to retreat to. Make sure it's dark. Make sure it's a little cool.
Yeah.
Not only try to get a certain amount of sleep each night, but try to set a regular sleep schedule. That'll work, even if you're only getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember those days. I would love to get 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night. But doing it on a regular schedule will be really beneficial too.
Oh, it can make a huge difference. And you have to set, as you said, you have to set the environment. You can't just go from being all worked up to jumping into bed. You're not going to sleep.
Yeah.
Your brain will stay fuzzy. It's also good to pay attention to what you eat. Increase your intake of protein and fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, anything that is good for your body. And avoid the junk food. I know I hate that because I love junk food, but I don't eat a lot of it anymore. It's wonderful at the time, but then it doesn't make me feel really good.
Same with all those vices. Drinking, drugs, smoking, excessive caffeine. The drug use and the smoking and the alcohol aren't good for you to begin with, but even a little bit of caffeine can be good for you, but too much caffeine can be counterproductive. You can drink so much that you negate the effects of the caffeine. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, too much caffeine will keep you awake. So,
take a look at those habits.
and of course, if it persists, if you keep a fuzzy brain for a long time and you can't identify the cause, check with your doctor. Run it by him or her and see what their take on what's going on with you is.
At the very least, do something fun.
Yes.
Sometimes all it takes is having a good laugh with a good friend and everything that was upside down gets righted again.
Yeah.
Just try and do something fun, get your mind off it, let yourself be in the moment. And that gives your brain some time to recuperate.
Yes. It's important to remember that this is a normal thing that happens to all of us at various times so that we don't beat ourselves up and lay a lot of shoulds on ourselves and just work with it. I'm going to say it again. Be gentle with yourself.
Our famous tagline, but it's so true. You got to take care of the systems that take care of you, and your brain is the number one system.
It's in control of everything, so be gentle with it and appreciate it. And if it wants to rest, let it rest.
Yeah. Same with your body.
Yes.
You just got to listen to this meat packet you live in.
Yes. Absolutely.
If it's not functioning well, pay attention.
Right.
Treat it like somebody you love.
Because hopefully you do.
Yeah, this is great. Wrap us up, Sandy.
Okay. Fuzzy brain or brain fog happens to all of us at one time or another. This is when your normally sharp brain has trouble focusing or understanding things. And there are many causes, including illness like cold or flu or something much bigger, a huge life change, depression, overwhelmed at work. There are many ways to deal with brain fog. First, you have to identify what's causing it so you'll be able to work with it, and then change some behaviors. Give yourself a rest. Don't do so much screen time. Get off the computer or the phone if you can. Stop watching the news. Give yourself time to sleep. Also, avoid drug use, smoking, and excessive alcohol. Find a way to slow down and be gentle with yourself. Avoid driving or other activities that require you to be sharp and aware, like running a chainsaw. No heavy machinery when you're fuzzy brain. That's not a good plan. And if it persists or you don't know what's causing it, contact your doctor just for a chat. Always remember that you have the power to take care of yourself, even when your brain is fuzzy.
It's all about the choices you make.
And it's being self-aware, claiming your personal power, paying attention to your body and your mind and what's going on with them, and then working with them. You can do it.
How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm great. I got over the cold and my brain came back, and that's why we're talking. Because I could not have written this episode if I were still fuzzy.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad your brain is unfuzzed.
Well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm well.
Are you unfuzzed?
I think I'm just living with a slight level of fuzz these days, but that's okay.
Well, as long as you're aware of it.
I checked in with myself and decided that it wasn't something huge. It was just, like you said, changes in my life and adapting to newness. And It's okay.
Okay.
So thank you.
Of course. You're so important.
Aren't we all?
And we have to treat ourselves as if we are our best friend.
Right? That's the whole point of this podcast.
Indeed. Claim your power and treat yourself well.
Yep. We want to hear from you, whether it's your stories about how self-esteem and personal power affect your life, or if you have any topics you'd like us to address in future episodes, let us know. And we'd love for you to review our podcast. It really makes a difference. You can do so wherever you stream, or if you just want to talk to us directly, you can visit yourpersonalpowerpod.com, click contact, and drop us an email. You can also reach us on Instagram, where you can find us at Your Personal Power Pod. And if you want to learn how coaching can change your life, contact Sandy at insidejobscoach.com. She does the initial coaching call for free, so reach out. Thank you for listening. We look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, find your power and change your life.